Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Patriots History. I am Larry Swikart, co-author of Patriots History of the United States, and Michael Allen. Reminder, you can get full curriculum in U.S. and world history at the site. In case of U.S. history, it's 22 lessons, workbooks that have 22 lessons, and I teach every lesson in full video. We also have a world history course, 15 lessons, year-long 15 lessons, and I teach every lesson in video. So check it out. I know the homeschool season's already started, but if you're not happy with your homeschool curriculum, email me at larry@wildworldofhistory.com, and I'll see what kind of a deal we can give you to allow you to make a change this late in the season. Okay, big news. I will be leading a election night coverage at Decision USA 2024. And we have a website, decisionusaonline.com, decisionusaonline.com. Me and Seth Keshel are going to be doing election night. I did this with Rich Barris and Tracy Beans in 2020. We had almost 1 million viewers. Our goal this time is at least 2 million views. People were dropping out of Fox News and CNN to watch us. Honest, fair, we didn't make any bad calls at all, and occasionally funny. So check it out, decisionusaonline.com. Tell all your friends, tell everybody, share the link. If you can, donate. Decision Desk is not cheap. If you want accurate numbers, to give you those numbers, we need some help with Decision Desk. If you can be a sponsor, if you have a business, Mike Lindell's going to sponsor us. We've got a great coffee company sponsoring us. Help us out. So that's decisionusaonline.com. Okay, I am reading from the 15th anniversary edition of Patriots History. I have a new 20th anniversary edition available. If you want it, email me at larry@wildworldofhistory.com. That's larry@wildworldofhistory.com. I'll send it to you free. It's not a book, it's a PDF of a new chapter that goes from 2018 to 2023, and about 20 pages of new material that you insert on your own throughout the book. So email me at larry@wildworldofhistory.com and I will send it to you. Okay, finally, once again, since I'm reading from the 15th anniversary edition, if you have an earlier edition, the page numbers probably won't line up. And even at sometimes the headers won't line up, so you'll have to kind of figure out where we are. I am on page 428 and the final stages of Indian assimilation. The assimilation movement had gained momentum 3 years before Wounded Knee with the passage of the Dawes Act of 1887, wherein Indian reservations, with some exceptions, were divided into approximately 160-acre plots for male family heads with lesser amounts to individuals. Indians had 4 years to select their land, after which a selection was made for them by the agent. Supported strongly by President Grover Cleveland, who saw the government as a guardian to the wards of the state, the Dawes Act reflected Cleveland's personal views of the Indians, which swung from, quote, lazy, vicious, and stupid, unquote, to industrious, peaceful, and intelligent, unquote. But really, folks, isn't that kind of our own interpretation of people we know? At one time, they're idiots, fools, don't know what they're doing. The other time, they're pretty shrewd, pretty smart, courageous. I mean, I think that's pretty common. Along with other reformers who saw the Indians as needing guidance, but who also agreed that, quote, barbarism and civilization cannot live together, Cleveland preferred a process of civic and cultural instruction in which the Native Americans would learn English in government schools and gradually attain all the formal conventions of citizenship. Here in Phoenix, we had the Phoenix Indian School, still have a road called Indian School Road. I don't know if the Indian School is still there, but at one time, only American Indians could go to the Phoenix Indian School. And I remember every year we'd have a big parade through downtown Phoenix, and the Indian School band, the marching band, would always be a part of that parade. In the Dawes Act, Congress also sought to move Native Americans away from the tribal system and more fully into the market economy by making them landowners. But as with most dealings with the Indians, there were also ulterior, less noble motives. Any unclaimed lands went on the open land market, which whites snapped up. Which, by the way, you do have to ask this. If it's always said that the Indians are given such poor land, why did the whites want their land? Now, I can tell you from experience growing up right next to the Pima Reservation. I'm 100 yards from the Pima Reservation right now. I grew up next to them, and you will see parts of Scottsdale where it will be built up city, thriving, or green pastures, vegetation right across the road where Indian land starts, and it looks like the moon. So it's not the land. It's not that they got the worst land. Correct, they didn't get the best land in all cases, but it wasn't this land couldn't be farmed or wasn't arable, or that it couldn't be developed. There are parts of Indian culture that make it very difficult to do that, okay? So don't just go and blaming the white man for stealing all the best land. But the purpose of the Dawes Act was not to steal land, although that certainly happened, but to change the tribal organization and habits of the Indians. Supporters called it the Emancipation Proclamation for Indians, and the Friends of the Indian, Eastern religious leaders, and humanitarians also embraced the legislation. The gap between where the Indians were and where they needed to be in order to fully function in a market economy, however, was too great. Over the next decades, generations of Plains Indians, born to reservation life, fared little better than those who had openly fought U.S. soldiers. Alcoholism, high infant mortality, and poverty characterized the generation of Indians who struggled to make the transition from nomadic to life in modernity. Congress finally gave up on the Dawes Act in the 1930s, by which time many Indians had lost their land, although others had doggedly survived and in some cases managed to flourish. From 1929 to 33, Charles Curtis, a member of the Kansas Kaw Indian tribe through his mother's ancestry, served as Herbert Hoover's vice president. And in 1934, the so-called Indian New Deal allowed the creation of the reservation self-governance through tribal councils. And again, you can see parts of Indian land just right across from me that are under cultivation, leased to whites, green as can be, producing crops, and you can see just kind of desert land. Currently, they are big onto casinos, and there are 3 casinos within 15 miles of me. And you will go through Indian areas and you will see some houses that are pristine and just as beautiful as you would see in any white areas. And then you'll see some real slums. It's quite common to see 6, 7, as many as 10 cars at one Indian house. So it's been difficult. Their traditions don't lend themselves easily to a market economy. They have an oral tradition. It took time to acculturate them to land titles and deeds. And even so, the tribe, which gets all the money and then doles it out, is still in control. Indian tribes are treated as individual sovereign nations within the United States. And Indian tribal lands are policed by the Indian Tribal Police. The FBI has jurisdiction there, but county sheriffs and police do not. I remember in my youth drag racing on Indian lands because they had a airport out there. Could have been used for all sorts of shady purposes. But we would drag race at the airstrip. And we'd see the lights in the distance of the Indian police coming. We'd skedaddle it out of there, because if you were arrested on the Indian reservation and you committed a crime with your car was subject to be Indian property. They just confiscated. So you learned real quick. Yet change came painfully slowly. Not until the middle of the 20th century did the lives of a significant number of Indians improve. Grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the brave Plains Indians fought with distinction as American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in World War I and II. the Korean War, Vietnam, and the Gulf and Iraq wars. Perhaps the most famous was one of the flag raisers on Iwo Jima's Mount Suribachi, an Arizona Indian named Ira Hayes, who died of alcoholism when he fell into a 2 or 3 inch mud puddle, drowned. Indians learned to speak English, embraced both Protestant and Catholic Christianity, and slowly began to assimilate into mainstream culture. Problems, though, persisted, but by the late 20th century, individual American Indians enjoyed success on almost every social, political, and economic front. It was just in the 1990s we had a U.S. Indian senator from Colorado, Ben Nighthorse Campbell, a Republican. By that time, after 3 centuries of depopulation, Indians finally began to see their numbers increase. Alcoholism abated somewhat, and with that, so too did infant mortality rates and fetal alcohol syndrome. Tribal elementary and secondary schools ultimately spawned tribal colleges. Many Indians left to attend state and private colleges and universities. Native American politicians entered government, rising as high as Vice President Curtis and Colorado Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell. Some Indians earned law degrees and returned home to file lawsuits and win enforcement of Indian treaty rights. Hold on, I see an error. One thing you do is you read through this, you still find errors after 20 years. We're still finding typos or whatnot. Others formed tribal corporations and harvested their reservations' natural resources, timber, ore, oil, agriculture, and fish to vastly increase their per capita income and standard of living. Others hunted in the most fertile new grounds, the tourism market, building hunting lodges, museums, and gambling casinos to mine an increasing number of non-Indians who yearned to visit and experience, quote, Indian country, unquote. Success, however, remained a relative term when describing efforts to move Native Americans into the market economy. Many reservations have unemployment rates of more than 40%. In light of these challenges, perhaps the greatest story of Native American assimilation and achievement has been that of the Mississippi Choctaw under the leadership of Chief Philip Martin. In 1975, Martin determined that the tribe's future lay in attracting private enterprise, and he convinced the tribal council to give him nearly absolute power to negotiate contracts, enforce work rules, and make Choctaw Reservation as competitive as any place in the private sector. Using government guarantees and a couple of small federal grants, Martin constructed the infrastructure for a business park that included roads, sewage, water, and other facilities. Then the tribe sent out 150 advertising packages to companies. General Motors responded, contracting with the Choctaw to assemble the wire harnesses for electrical parts, requiring Martin's agreement that the Indians perform as well as any white company. He dealt with employees firmly and even ruthlessly. No tardiness, no sloppy dress, and above all, perfect workmanship. Soon a greeting card company, then Ford, then other companies began moving into Choctaw land, and Martin's positions were vindicated. Ford gave the tribe a Quality Performance Award, and unemployment, which had reached 75% before Chief Martin took control, dipped to under 20%, or half that the average of most reservations. A level high by white standards, but amazingly low for the Indian reservation. By 1993, the Choctaw Indian tribe was the 10th largest employer in the state of Mississippi. The Choctaw notwithstanding, it would be unwise to declare a happy ending to the 400-year history of warfare, abuse, and theft, and treachery by whites, and of suffering by Indians. Yet it is absolutely correct to say that the end result of the Indian-white cross-acculturation has been a certain level of assimilation, an aim that had once seemed hopeless. Modern Indians are proud Americans who simultaneously embrace their Indian ethnicity and folk traditions, Christianity, Western legal traditions, capitalism, and all facets of mainstream American civilization. But getting there has been a difficult, bloody, and tragic struggle. I think that's a good place for us to end this shortened episode, because next we're going to take up with how the numerous states started to come into the Union. So that's kind of a big jump. So remember, if you need a curriculum, check us out at the Wild World of History. Join us for election night at decisionusaonline.com. Share that with everybody. Remember, I have a political site, oops, over there. If you want more on politics, I do Larry's political commentary 3 days a week, 15 to 20 minutes of analyzing voter registrations, polling, and other things. So check it out under Insider over there. And remember, under the Wild World of History VIP, I have ongoing video lessons of everything from Reagan, the American president, with 21 lessons, to Churchill integrity with about 20 lessons. I've just started a new series on the VIP side called Integrity Billy Graham, and I'll be adding the second episode of that here today. So I'll see you here next week.